Hey guys, came for 15, back at it with another episode review for you guys. And I am back with another One Piece anime episode review for you guys. As we're gonna have a dual episode review for you guys, which we're talking about episode 1132 and episode 1133. And man, bro, I don't know if Toei did this for like legitimately all the wrong reasons, but again, I don't know if I don't know if in Japan they have Father's Day on the same day we do in America, but they chose the perfect time to release these episodes with the tragic freaking Kuma backstory, basically on Father's Day. In a weird way, how you have it in this week's episode, Kuma basically sacrificing everything so he can save Bonney. But yes, these past two episodes were great. Obviously, the last episode was very emotional, and let's get off with that. So, obviously, from episode 100 or 1131, we got left off on the cliffhanger where Ginny ended up being captured, and her group ended up being captured, and she got taken away, and that broke Kuma to the core. So we just have it to where, we start the episode off with a montage of Kuma just doing Revolutionary Army stuff and basically saving these kingdoms and doing all these things. But Ivankov basically is like, Kuma, man, please, I think you need to just give yourself a rest break and just relax for a bit and just take some time off because what you're doing is reckless. So we find out like this since Ginny got captured, legitimately, man has been on a mission. He has been broken, probably trying to find any leads to any celestial dragons to try to find any leads to go to try to save Ginny. But he probably knows like there's no shot I'm gonna ever see her again, because she got taken to Marijua, and we find out in the montage as he's doing all this stuff. We cut back to the moment when the call was announced, like, yeah, she got captured. Her group basically said, yeah, we got caught up. We got basically we got snuck up on and attacked, unannounced and right then and there. And apparently a celestial dragon saw Ginny and wanted to take Ginny to be his wife, right? So, of course, it makes the most sense that for whatever reason, a celestial dragon was within the area and said, oh, that girl, she's hot. I want her to be my wife. So basically, her group got essentially taken out and captured the last second. She got captured, and she got taken away, you know, to Marijwa by the Celestial Dragon, right? Now, albeit I do kind of wish the Toei went more in depth and they actually showed the group being attacked, because we don't know how, what forces they may have had. Could they have had God Knights with them? Probably. Could they have had like hierarchy Navy officials with them? More than likely, yes. Who knows? They could have had some really strong character be there, and that's the reason why they got taken down unannounced and that easily like that. Because it sounded like, yeah, we got surprise attack, and that shit all happened, and it happened so it's easy, fast, and show. They must have had some high-ranking Navy admiral, maybe a God's Knight member that was with the Celestial Dragon at the time, and stuff like that, right? So, that's the thing. But she ended up getting taken away. And Kuma's been broken ever since then. Like, he was a man on a mission and everything, and he was just doing all these Revolutionary Army stuff, basically just going guns ablaze and didn't freaking care. Man's broken because basically the person he cared so much about, excuse me, the person he basically, let's just be honest, he's in love with, got taken away. And, this was one of his fears, right? Because you remember from the last episode or a few episodes ago, he talked about, because when Ginny made the proposal, like, hey, I want to get married. She's like, and Kuma's like, nah, I don't want that to happen, because he remembered his childhood from his PTSD, because he'd already lost people that were close to him. And the fact is, now this is happening all over again. He basically did everything he possibly could to prevent this. He's living a better life now. He's living with basically a girl he's in love with. And next thing you know, he immediately gets a call, and that person is stripped away from him again. And he's reliving all of that PTSD he once had as a kid. And it's happening again. And you can only imagine what was going on through his fucking head. He had to experience this shit as a kid. Now he's re-experiencing this all shit again, you know, as an adult. And the fact is, the person that he truly did care and love the most is being taken away from him. And it's being taken away from the same people that took away his own mother and his own father from him. And it's now happening all over again, right? So that's the thing. Now, a few years ended up passing after so a few years ended up passing after Ginny's capture, right? And you have it to where you see a boat sailing on the ship, and it's Ginny, and Ginny's holding a baby, and you just have it to where Ginny does not look good, right? She looks tired, she looks exhausted, she doesn't look like she's in good shape, right? And she actually goes back to the Sorbet Kingdom, and as she's, you know, saying, hey, it's gonna be okay, we're finally here, Bonney. So that's Bonney as a baby. Now she gives a call to the Revolutionary Army, and she's like, hey guys, it's me, it's Ginny, you know, I'm here. You know, it's so great to hear you again and everything. Kuma is obviously overjoyed and everything. Everybody's overjoyed. Ginny talks about how now she's basically now in the lower realm again, and she's out of Marie Joie and everything. They're just like, that's great. You know, we can throw a, you know, coming home party and everything and stuff like that. And she's like, that's nice, guys, but I don't think I got a lot of time, right? And she basically goes into say, and she says that she basically got sick, and she's really sick, and because of her being sick, basically Marie Joie just kicked her out and said like, well, you're nothing to us anymore. So yeah, there's no point in you staying here. You can go back because you don't look, you can't live up to what we are, right? And basically she comes up to say like, hey, you know, I got this, you know, sickness, this disease, I'm gonna die soon, so I just want to let you guys know that I truly appreciate what you guys have all done for me. Dragon, I thank you for taking me in. You know, Ivankov, thank you for being an older brother to me. And then, you know, Kuma, you know, he's like, wait, what? He's broken. He's breaking down into tears because he's just like, wait, the girl that I love is back and she's dying. Wait, what? And he's basically like, Ginny, please tell me where you're at. He wants to go see her, probably before her dying breaths, and he wants to go see something and everything. And she's like, Kuma, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm gonna be okay. You know, it is what it is. But Kuma's just like, no, please tell me where you're at. Please tell me where you're at. And basically, he just, you know, throws the transponder snail away, and he knows where Ginny more than likely at, because he's like, no, this is the one place we would know we would always go to meet at and everything and stuff like that, right? And you know, as Ginny is saying all these thank yous for everything she's done, even though Kuma's not there, but she does tell Dragon and Ivankov to say like, hey, tell Kumachi, you know, that you know, I missed him, you know, I want him to still be the same Kumachi that I've always known him to be. And I also want you to tell him that, frick, man, it hit so damn hard when she said it, bro. And she basically ends off telling them, say, like, in her dying breaths, she basically says, tell Kumachi, like, and she even, and it's indirectly, she also says, like, you know, Kumachi, I love you. Bruh. When she said that line, man, it hit so hard, because you could tell, like, no, she was in love with him, because they were together for their entire life. This is the guy she wanted to be with, and then it all got taken away. It's also even more fucked up with this. So Kuma gets back, right? He gets back to the church. The old people are like, Kuma, you're back, and everything. And he's like, where's Ginny? And she's like, and they're like, Ginny's in the church, and she didn't look too good, and stuff like that. And right there, Kuma gets there, but it's too late. Ginny has already given her last breath. She's dead. Kuma is very emotional because it's like somebody he truly loved is gone now. And the next thing you know, he hears a baby crying, and the old people from Sorbet Kingdom's like, she carried that baby in here and everything, right? And stuff like that. And basically, the old people said like she used the last, strength she had in her to get her here, and she told us like she wasn't even supposed to see or be out in the sunlight at all. Otherwise, it was going to kill her. And she wanted to make sure that this baby was dropped off. And Kuma basically understands like what that meant. And basically, he promises Ginny that he was going to watch over Bonney. So, before I talk about the next part of the episode, man, dude, it was... When this was revealed in the fucking manga, and this shit all happened and everything, it was fucked up, bro, that this shit happened. Like... She basically got taken away. It's more with the fact that Bonney was it was a baby here. More than importantly, it's clear what happened, right? She got taken up to the Marijois. She was sent to be married to the Celestial Dragon. The Celestial Dragon did the you-know-what with her. Probably more than likely had her as a sex slave. And basically had sex with her. Whatever he pleased, in terms of whoever this Celestial Dragon was, did as he pleased with her. Obviously, she got pregnant. She had Bonney. She gave birth to Bonney. And she came back with a disease. Now, we still to this day, even in the manga, don't know what caused the sapphire. What we later get revealed is called the Sapphire Scale, right? My best guess is it was probably some form of a sexually transmitted disease, probably in the One Piece world. And if you have an STD, it can potentially turn into more serious things, and you actually can die from that sexually transmitted disease, right? And knowing Celestial Dragons, it would make sense that they could potentially be carrying maybe STDs and everything, because more than likely when they see a hot woman, they're going to want to claim their women as their own personal slave. And basically because of it, I bet you the Celestial Dragon probably was sleeping with other women, probably, obviously if you're not wearing protection, right, you can potentially transmit STDs. And that more than likely grossly happened to Ginny, as she was quote unquote getting probably R-worded by the Celestial Dragon, probably against her will. She probably would have rather done something like that with Kuma instead of freaking a Celestial Dragon. She probably had to be in that situation where she just lays on the bed, had to listen to the Celestial Dragon and just fucking take it, right? This truly showed the dark side of the One Piece world, and truly showed how detestable these Celestial Dragons are, that they don't really give a shit. Like, they not only threw away freaking Ginny as if she was some like object, like the Celestial Dragon didn't even give a fuck. Like, not saying like, hey, what can we do to make sure she gets in pristine condition? What can we do to heal her, right? No, we don't. Celestial Dragon didn't even give a shit. It's like, nah, you're trash like the rest. And then even too, didn't even keep the baby to potentially, like, even though that potentially that baby is probably their own child, right? Their own flesh and blood, as crazy as it sounds to be. So, which makes it even more of a wild freaking revelation that basically Bonney is a child of a Celestial Dragon. So technically, she is of royalty, I guess you can say. She's got Celestial Dragon blood running through her veins, right? Which, is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's kind she's kind of in the same boat as Doflamingo, right? She's kind of in the same boat as Doflamingo. They both have celestial dragon blood, but she was more kicked out to the curb. The Don Quixote family actually voluntarily left Marie-Joie, right? So there's that. But anyways, you just have that whole situation. And then only kick Ginny to the curb instead of doing the sensible and right thing to say, nah, let me help out my wife, see what treatment we can give her to get her back to full health and everything, right? No, just threw out like trash because he don't give a shit because this girl came from the lower worlds. She was just an object, a slave to me, just a slave wife to me that I could sleep with. And not only done away with her, done away with the kid. Said, that kid's nothing special either. The kid can die with her, right? Do you know how fucked up that is? Fucked up that is, bro. Absolutely detestable apps. If it didn't get you to hate celestial dragons anymore, or shit, even the world government or the people that live in Marie-Joie anymore, I don't know what that doesn't tell you, bro. It makes them even more detestable. That's why I continuously said, like, the Kuma backstory, this was like the fucked up part of the backstory. The fucked up part when Ginny got captured, basically got captured. Albeit, I will say my only one criticism, my one only negative of the backstory is this portion of the backstory. Now, the manga, they're only adapting what the manga could do, right? The manga never showed like what happened and everything on her end and shit like that. I do wish the anime went a little bit more into detail of how she got captured, the build up to see what Celestial Dragon did this, and maybe we see it where she's in Marie-Joie, and the Celestial Dragon's like, oh, I can't wait to do things with you, my honey, and everything, and then that's boom, cut, and then you're back to where, to be continued, right? And like, oh fuck, I'm in trouble, and you can have it to where she's like, Kumachi, I'm so sorry. So yeah, man, it was fucked up, bro. It was fucked up. Like, in terms of tragic, like influential characters and a character backstory, death, because most of these characters in the backstories, they do have that one impactful death. Ginny's death is top 5, especially when it's all revealed, like what happened to her. Like legitimately, the Sapphire Scale more than likely was a sexually transmitted disease that sadly, which we find out later in the episode, was passed down to Bonney due to probably more than likely genetic stuff, and stuff like that. Because sometimes that can actually be passed down to the child, in some instances and things like that. But absolutely crazy. So it was crazy, but. So you see, you just have it to where you get a montage of Kuma taking care of this of Bonney as she starts to grow up and everything. It was it was basically adorable and everything. He would have the old people basically helping him take care of Bonney. At the meantime, he would also do his revolutionary army stuff at the same time and stuff like that. So yeah, but you just see like Bonnie growing up and being a helpful girl and everything, right? So yeah, that's kind of the thing right then and there. Now, you have it where some time passes, right? And in one of the scenes, you have it where you see the crystals starting to grow on Bonnie's skin, and you just have it where you know some of the members of the Sorbet Kingdom, they come in and they're like, "Hey, why are you boarding up the walls in the church and everything?" And basically, he's like, "Well, this because of this." And the friends see Bond and like, "Whoa, that's just like freaking Ginny. The same thing that happened with Ginny and everything." So yeah, but a few years pass. Bonnie's around 5 here and everything, and basically you just have it to where they're just kind of living together, but she's got to stay inside because they don't want the disease to go further and everything. They talk in this whole thing, it's still adorable, right? Bonnie is adorable and it's cute to see her as a kid, right? And you just have it to where they bring up the Nika thing. She talks about the Sky Islands and talks about Nika, and they do the dance and everything. And then they even talk about how like they want to go on a journey together when she grows old enough to go see the world, right? Now, as Kuma was going through all these doctors to find out what the disease is, because one of these doctors like, I don't know what this is, never seen it before. One of the doctors actually meets out with Kuma at one night and says, "Hey Kuma, I know what your daughter got. She's got this incurable disease called sapphire scale. There is no cure at all for this disease." And Kuma's like, "Oh, well then what's gonna happen?" Basically, the doctor's like, "Look, I'm just gonna be honest. Your daughter's going to die." And he's like, "How many years does she got left?" And basically, he's like, "She's got 5 more years to live, like till she's probably 10, and then she'll be dead." And this really upsets Kuma. Doesn't upset Kuma, but it gets him very emotional and very sad, because a few minutes ago he promised Bonney, like, when you turn 20, we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out to sea, and we're gonna see the world, right? But now she won't even live to half of that age, right? At 10, she's basically dead. So she's only got like 5 years of her life left. Now Bonney was woke up and overheard this, right? And she didn't hear the whole story of like when she was going to die, right? So basically you have it to where Kuma kind of gives a white lie, telling her like, yeah, when you turn 10, you're gonna get all better. It's just not. I'm crying because I wish it was just sooner. And you can just be like, fuck, bro, this man's gonna, because it's like this man legitimately had a happy life with his parents, got freaking enslaved, has to endure all that that heartful shit. He gets out, has happy few years, like a good maybe decade, living with Ginny, happy as can be. Ginny gets taken away from him. A few years pass by, Ginny comes back, he thinks, oh, Ginny's back, we're gonna live together, it's gonna be like old times. Ginny's dead, leaves you with the daughter. You have a few good years of, having this time with your daughter till she's 5. And you get revealed now that, yeah, your daughter is gonna be taken away from you. And she's gonna die to the same thing that basically killed her mom. And this man is back in this circle of every time when things were going so damn good for this man, boom, reality hits, and this man's gonna lose somebody else he cares about. Probably, if not the last person he cares about. Like, legitimately. We see in the next episode what Kuma does to save Bonney, but I just imagine if he didn't do that and Bonney were just to die. The man might be fucking broken. Broken beyond belief. Like, the man would have probably, like, honestly, I commend Kuma for not losing his fucking sanity and going fucking crazy. Like, he had every right to go fucking crazy. Shit, he probably had every right to even freaking maybe kill himself. Because he's like, fuck it. Every time I get these good moments, I only get like a good, piece for maybe 5-10 years, and then shit. And then everything goes back to shit. He could have been like, fuck it. Boom. I can't handle this no more. So you have that whole situation, right? So in the next episode, you have it to where, Kuma, this is when Kuma then kind of resigns from the Revolutionary Army. He tells Ivankov and Dragon, like, hey, she's come down with the same situation that Bonney did, that Ginny did, and I just want to be there for her, and I want to take care of her. And Ivankov and Dragon, especially Dragon, was like, hey man, you go do what you need to go do. I 100% agree. Look, I'll do on my end. I'll see if I got any connections that can maybe help your daughter and help Bonney, get better and maybe get rid of this disease. But look, man, you go be a father. You go be a family man. Go take care of her. I'm completely okay with that. Which, respect to Dragon for doing that. That's a good move on him from your boss. Like, for your boss to freaking say, like, no, man, go spend time with your family, bro. We got more than enough forces here. You go do that. I can tell that you want to be with her, right? Some fucking bosses are just like, of the standpoint, no, fuck that. I don't give a shit. Some bosses actually just like, man, fuck that. You show up and you come to work, right? So yeah. But there is also turmoil that's going on. So the king of the Sorbet Kingdom, he basically burned to the ground like one of the poor districts, right? And obviously, like, what's going on currently, in the United States as of now, for political reasons, for all these protests, they were protesting in the Sorbet Kingdom, and talking about like it's not fair. Why'd you do what you did and everything? But the king was like telling his guards like, look, shoot 4 or 5, make that a warning that don't try me, right? We got to make sure that the celestial dragons think, our kingdom is beautiful and everything. Because remember, this king was very much plugged in with the celestial dragons. He wanted to be a fucking celestial dragon for crying out loud, right? So they do that. It scares the people. But Kuma shows up, basically takes on the entire kingdom, takes the king down from his throne, and completely destroys everything. He had basically freed the Sorbet Kingdom. Kuma is basically installed as the new king there. We do cut over to Marijwa, where we see Saturn, and one of the reports says, hey boss, Sorbet Kingdom has been liberated. They got a new king, right? And Saturn's like, who is this new king? And obviously they more than likely said like, oh, it goes by the name of Bartholomew Kuma. Now, in the build up to this, basically, you have it to where Kuma knows like the Navy's gonna come after him, and everything, and the king's gonna come back to try to get back his kingdom. So he's like, look, I'm gonna go away because it's the best thing to do, right? He basically tells the other old folk, he instills one of his aides to be the king, going forward, and everything. So yeah, now in the background, you see Bonney running around. She's older now. It doesn't make it. What's going on is it doesn't add up because it makes absolutely no fucking sense how she's an adult. Not at like 10 years have passed to where she'd basically be old. And even the people are like, wait, is that Ginny there? Because she looks like Ginny. No, it's Bonney, because she's like, oh hey dad, how you doing? It's me, Bonney. And they're like, and it's like, it's gonna get ready, like, what the hell, bro? This is when we find out like she clearly ate the age fruit. My goodness, say that 3 times fast, right? And because of her eating that fruit, she's able to age herself up, right? Now she doesn't have complete control of the devil fruit, like in terms of knowing how to change to being older, and getting back to her younger self and everything. So that's the thing. Now you do have it to where the king's like, hey, I just wanted to introduce. Now you did this funny gag where they think Bonney turned into an old hag, right? But no, it's actually the Kuma's aide's wife called Connie. So there you go, right there, and everything. So basically Kuma's like, look, I'll handle the Navy, I'll make sure they don't come back, but after that I'm gonna go on a journey. I'm gonna go see if I can go find a doctor that can help Bonney out and everything. And then, stuff like that, right? Well, in the meantime, I need you to take care of her, and stuff like that. And they're like, sure, we can do that for you. So basically, yes, Kuma had it right. The Navy showed up. The king is like, you need to take that guy down. Kuma basically, annihilates that fleet, and he goes on his own way looking to try to find a cure for Bonney for her sapphire scale, right? And everything. So he goes and looks to see like, what he can do. He's obviously getting emotional because it's like, bro, what the hell? Now he comes across the Revolutionary Army again and everything. He meets Dragony, and Dragon's like, look, you've done all these things, man. I hope that, you're good. I hope that you're good and everything. One of the forces does say is like, hey, Bello Betty, actually, who's younger, basically says like, hey, you want to be, captain of the Eastern Forces again? And basically Bello Betty says like, right now, right now you have it to where, what's his face? Dragon's not permitting anybody to take that because he's holding that position just for you, right? So there's that. I forgot to mention, there is a moment in the backstory where Kuma was also training with Sabo. So he does know Sabo too. So yeah. Anyways, after time has passed, after saying goodbye, he comes back to Sorbet Kingdom. He finds Bonney and everything. So there's that. And then essentially what happens is he found the person he was looking for to help him. And he goes to the Navy Science Group Laboratory 8, which is the current modern day Egghead. So basically he takes her to go see Dr. Vegapunk. And basically, Dr. Vegapunk is like, oh well, I'm here, I can help you out and everything. Now, Vegapunk basically acknowledges the fact, like, good, good job, Kuma. You've done a good job of trying, to keep the Sapphire Scale from, spreading and everything and stuff like that. And basically, that's when, Kuma's like, so, Doctor, you can cure this, right? And basically, Dr. Vegapunk's like, yeah, I can cure this. I can 100% cure this, right? So, there's that, right? And basically, he says he'll be using this method using stem cells and to transplant them and basically, get them out and stuff like that. Now, basically what happens is as he's looking at more information, um Vegapunk basically talks about how or Vegapunk's like, wait, you're a Buccaneer? And basically Kuma's like, yeah, that's right. Now, at this point, this is when Vegapunk is working with the government. He's like, dude, should you be telling me this? I'm with the government. Now, Kuma's like, look, man, I trust Dragon and his judgment, so if he told me to come to you, I'm gonna come to you. Now, Vegapunk is like, wow, that's interesting, and stuff like that. So yeah, now basically this is when Vegapunk talks about like, well, actually, I think you might be good. I've actually been trying to create a clone species in terms of soldiers, right? And if you do, and if you donate your blood, I'll be able to basically, you know, I'll be able to help you with Bonnie stuff. And I'll say this, man. I will say this. This was kind of a fucked up thing from Vegapunk to fucking do to Kuma, bro. Especially the fact that we know that freaking Vegapunk, you know, knows Dragon. He knows is one of Dragon's trusted sources. He basically, in a weird way, you can basically say Vegapunk blackmailed Kuma into making pacifistas, making these clones of him, making these pacifistas of him, for him to basically save Bonnie and cure her from the Sapphire Scale. Because he literally says he's like, if you do that, you donate your blood and everything, I could, it could cost you, it can save the cost, the crazy amount of cost, to help, pay for Bonnie's, disease, right? To me, fix it. Now, I don't know why Vegapunk just had to do this whole shit. He could have just said, you know what? Since you know dragons, since me and dragons are cool, I'll do you a favor. I'll help you out with this situation, right? But no, Vegapunk legitimately is like kind of blackmailing, saying like, well, if you give your blood, I can save your daughter. If you don't, well, you got to pay the crazy amount of cost, and I know you don't got that type of money. And I'm just like, dude. Even when I read the manga, I was like, bro, the fuck, bro? I'm like, Dragon, and you're telling him you can help this dude's daughter. He knows Dragon, but you're telling me either you pay up or you give me your blood. Like, of course, what is any caring father going to do? They're gonna feel like either I can pay crazy amounts of money for the removal, or I actually just simply just donate some blood to this guy. Of course, you're gonna go with the more cheapless option. And honestly, Kuma's okay with this because he's like, yeah, and Vegapunk is like, Dragon might not be too happy about this. You do know that. And Kuma's like, look, it's cool. If this means I can save my daughter and she can live, I'm cool with this, right? So yeah, but that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, he basically asked to save Bonnie. Vegapunk makes a mention that he's a saint and everything. So yeah. Now we do cut over back to we do cut over back to Saturn as the episode's ending. Saturn talks about how the clones can be weapons or judge and how many people they can use to be killed, and stuff like that. And basically, it sounds like he was hearing in on this conversation. And basically, Saturn, now knowing what the hell's going on, he goes on to say Vegapunk doesn't know how to make the most out of opportunities. And basically that's when um basically that's when Saturn is taking things in his own hands now, and he's like, I actually got a good idea. And basically this other person's like, yes, sir, at your command, right? So yeah, that's the thing and stuff like that. So yeah, and also that's why, because Kuma's a pacifist kind type of guy. That's where he came with the. That's where Vegapunk came with the name Pacifistas. Same thing. So yeah, that's the thing right then and there. Um, now you're gonna see, not next week, sadly, because next week we're going on another episode break. Why? I don't know. I hate when the anime does this shit where they do like these freaking, you get a gang load of fucking episodes, and next thing you know, oh, we're gonna have a freaking episode where it's just straight up fucking recap. It's just recap of topics we talked before. It's basically nothing you need to see here. You can just wait till next week, or in 2 weeks. It's kind of like what they do with the freaking manga. Maybe because the manga's going on break this week too, or went on break this week. Um, I don't know, bruh. They've been doing these episodes since the tail end, since the back half of on the War of Onigashima, where they be doing this freaking filler shit, where it's an episode where, oh, we're just gonna recap, yada 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 yada. Now I understand why they do this, so they can have the manga get more weeks ahead, and you can just stall stall stall. But again, I'm of the opinion, why not just keep the anime keep going on with these new episodes that you can clearly adapt? We're already in a completely different arc in the manga currently right now. I won't spoil it from anime onlys, but again, why not do the same thing? You have a full batch of episodes running. Maybe you finish the arc up, the Egghead arc up in like October, November, based on how many, how long they do the pacing, right? You take a break from December on to April, so then the manga can get farther ahead, and then you bring the anime back in April, like you did just now. You can quote unquote say, "Oh, it's for it's for what is it? This is to improve production and shit like that." But we know it's a bullshit excuse to give your animators rest for a few months, especially going into a new year, and then you come back rejuvenated and everything to have these animators make these episodes and shit like that, so then you can send it out. Honestly, I feel like that should be the way to go for the One Piece anime. I think if they do that, it'll be more efficient that way. But and then we don't have to get like these filler like episodes, right? But they're giving us these filler episodes. So next week there will be no new episode of One Piece. That will be in 2 weeks, and we'll get to see what involvement, what the idea of Saint Saturn's plan and everything. But even though I still think it was kind of stupid blackmail on Vegapunk stuff. Clearly, that's all he asked for. But with Saturn now getting involved, he's gonna be like, actually, now that I know what Vegapunk's gonna be doing, and I know that Vegapunk's trying to let this guy get off easy, right? I'm gonna add a stipulation into this whole situation too. So if you thought Saturn was even more responsible for my anime onlys, you're truly gonna see how responsible Saturn is for getting Kuma to where he is currently at this point in the story, right? So yeah, but other than that, great episode, very emotional episodes and stuff like that. But yeah, till then, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. If you guys did the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more One Piece content or any other anime content I upload to the channel and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I will see you guys in 2 weeks for the next One Piece anime episode review. Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or your night, watching this video. Until then, guys, hopefully you guys had a happy, great Father's Day. I know Kuma, after he didn't really, relive these episodes, he sure as hell didn't have a great Father's Day. But hopefully you guys celebrate with your fathers and stuff like that. But if you guys are fathers, stuff like that. I know I want to be a father, so. Anyways, I'm gonna get off for guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.